Today is January 11th. This is Alyssa with the Funnest of Facts YouTube channel, and I'm going to read from a book that I've been compiling of interesting and strange facts for a book that I am writing for kids. I love trivia. I think it's fun to know all these weird random facts, and it's great to clean up on trivia night too. So here are just some of the facts from the book that I am in the process of writing for Kids Facts. First section is facts about pets or farm animals. 3 dogs survived the Titanic sinking. Did you know that dogs have 3 eyelids? And so do owls. The oldest pet goldfish lived to be 43 years old. Did you know that a chicken with red earlobes produces brown eggs, and a chicken with white earlobes produces white eggs? I didn't even know chickens had earlobes. Dogs can smell your feelings. They can also smell diseases like cancer and have been trained to identify when someone is about to have a seizure or have a drop in low blood sugar from diabetes, etc. Horses don't have collarbones. A cat can jump up to 7 times its height. Did you know that lizards can have green bones? Or that cats are asleep for 70% of their life? Rabbit teeth never stop growing. There are 32 muscles in a cat's ear. In ancient Egypt, they kept pets such as hyenas, lions, and monkeys. Just like human fingerprints, dogs, cats, and even African penguins all have a unique nose print. No two are the same. Do you know the difference between rabbits and hares? One of the differences is that rabbits are born naked, but hares are born with fur. Hens lay around 228 eggs a year. And cows can sleep standing up, but they only dream if they're laying down. Dalmatians are born spotless, and they develop spots as they age. And to survive, every bird must eat at least half of its own weight in food each day. A bird's heart beats 400 times a minute while they're resting. Iguanas can hold their breath for up to 30 minutes. Rabbits can literally be scared to death if they're approached by a predator when they're totally unaware. Did you know that all kittens are born with blue eyes, and their eyes change color about 2 weeks after they first open them? There was a parrot named Echo who was put into the witness protection program after it testified against its owner. And a dog can hear sounds 4 times farther away than a human can. In the 1800s, cats were used to deliver mail in Belgium. Lizards communicate by doing push-ups. Did you know that French poodles are actually from Germany? Cows have best friends, and they get stressed when they're separated. It is physically impossible for a pig to look up into the sky. The pupils of a goat are rectangular shaped. Pigs are considered to be the world's 5th smartest animal. Did you know that male cats have longer tails than female cats? The only animal in the world that can get a sunburn besides human is also a pig. The oldest koi fish lived for 225 years. And there are some cats that are allergic to people. These are wild animal facts now. Skipping through the book. Ladybugs bleed from their knees when they feel threatened. A snail can sleep for 3 years. And if a polar bear and a grizzly bear mate, their offspring is called a pizzly bear. Elephants are the only animal that cannot jump. Japan is home to giant hornets whose venom is so strong it can melt human skin. Slugs have 4 noses. If a shark is turned upside down, it becomes temporarily paralyzed. Tarantulas cannot spin webs. And squirrels can climb trees faster than they can run on the ground. Did you know a bat can eat up to 1,000 insects per hour? Giraffes cannot swim. Polar bears have black skin and see-through fur. Reindeer eyeballs turn blue in winter to help them see with the lower light levels. If a frog's mouth is held open for too long, the frog will suffocate. The leg bones of a bat are so thin that no bat can walk. Giraffes only need 30 minutes of sleep in a 24-hour period. A hippopotamus, even though it lives in the water half its life, it cannot swim or float. The cattlefish has 3 hearts. Both rats and giraffes can go longer without water than a camel can. Did you know the blood of a grasshopper is white? And bulls can run faster uphill than they can downhill. The pouch of a pelican can stretch so much that it can carry 30 pounds of fish. And flies take off with a backward jump. Bats always turn left when flying out of a cave. A mole can dig a tunnel 100 yards long in a single night. The greater dwarf lemur of Madagascar always gives birth to triplets. Did you know an albatross can fly all day and not flap its wings one time? Moths cannot eat because they do not have a mouth or a stomach. If a grasshopper's legs are detached from its body, the legs can walk on their own. Only female mosquitoes bite. Pandas eat 35 pounds of bamboo every day. Did you know crocodiles? They can't stick out their tongues, They also can't chew their food. They can only rip and swallow. A scientist once found a 36-million-year-old penguin fossil that would have been as big as an adult male. It's a pretty big penguin. Bumblebees have hair on their eyes. Turtles have no teeth. Ants can carry 50 times their own weight and pull loads 300 times their own weight. An elephant can carry 2 gallons of water in its trunk. The rarest cat in the world is the Bornean bay cat. There are only 12 that have ever been captured and studied since 1874. 80% of animals on Earth are insects. And did you know that a hippo can run faster than a man? A butterfly has 12,000 eyes, but it cannot fly if the body temperature drops below 86 degrees. For each human on Earth, there are approximately 1.6 million ants. That's a lot of ants. Camels have 3 eyelids. Turkey vultures use defensive vomit to get rid of any disturbing animal. They will vomit in order to keep others away from the food that they're trying to eat. They can propel their vomit up to 10 feet away. Ugh. Cheetahs are the only large cat that cannot roar. And a giant tortoise grows a little bit every day until the day it dies. Bears can smell food from 18 miles away. And rats can tread water for 3 days without stopping. Emus and kangaroos cannot walk backwards. And a giraffe can clean its ears with its tongue because it's 21 inches long. The biggest spider in the world is wider than a basketball. A single kick from an ostrich has been known to kill a lion. And the white-throated snapping turtle of Australia can breathe through its butt. Grasshoppers' ears are located in the sides of their abdomen. When they're upset, the sweat of a hippo turns red. Donkeys can see all 4 of their feet at the same time because of how their eyes are placed. When a mosquito bites you, not only do they bite and suck the blood out of you, they also pee on you before they fly away. And the world's smallest lizard can fit on a dime. It can take up to a month for a sloth to digest the food in its stomach. Beavers have transparent eyelids to protect their eyes when they swim underwater. Frogs don't drink water. They absorb it through their skin. Dragonflies have 6 legs, but they can't walk. Now some tips or facts about newborn animals. Baby hedgehogs have soft and flexible quills when they're born. A newborn panda is the size of a stick of butter. And baby scorpions cannot sting. Hippo milk is pink. Elephants are afraid of bees. A woodpecker's tongue wraps its way around its brain, protecting it from damage when it's hammering a tree. You know the poop of a wombat is shaped like a cube? A camel can drink up to 40 gallons of water at one time. Animals yawn based on how big their brain is. The bigger the brain, the longer they will yawn. The penguin is the only bird that can swim but cannot fly. Polar bears are left-handed. Brown bears give birth while they're asleep. An axolotl spends its entire life underwater and can regrow part of its brain. An elephant's heart weighs up to 46 pounds, which is the size of an average 4-year-old. The horned lizard can squirt blood from its eyes. The teeth of a limpet snail are less than a millimeter long, but they're stronger than titanium. Bald eagles have brown heads until they're about 5 years old. And did you know that male platypuses have venomous stingers on the back feet? Hippos kill more people in Africa each year than lions or crocodiles. A silkworm has 11 brains. Warthogs don't have warts. And a spider hears with the tiny hairs on its legs. Camels don't sweat until their body temperature reaches 106 degrees Fahrenheit. And elephants can die of a broken heart if their mate dies. We'll come back to facts about dinosaurs and sea creatures. Some space facts. A full moon is 9 times brighter than a half moon. There are an estimated 1 septillion stars in the universe. That's a 1 with 24 zeros behind it. You're taller in space than you are on Earth. So when an astronaut returns from space, it can take about a month to return to their normal height. Less than 600 astronauts have ever been in space. No solar eclipse can last longer than 7 minutes and 58 seconds. Halley's Comet was documented as early as 240 BC. The Chinese have been documenting this comet since that time. It takes Uranus 84 years to orbit the Sun once. Mercury and Venus are the only 2 planets in our solar system that do not have any moons. And because of its unique tilt, a single night on Uranus lasts for 21 years. Mercury, Mars, Earth, and Venus are known as the inner planets because they orbit closest to the Sun. And Venus is so bright it can be seen during the daytime on a clear day. Mercury is the fastest planet to orbit the Sun. It only takes 88 days to circle it one time. Neptune has 14 moons in orbit. And there are more volcanoes on Venus than any other planet within our solar system. Neptune's moon, Triton, orbits the planet backwards. It's the only large moon in our solar system that orbits backwards. Even though Mercury is the closest planet to the Sun, Venus is the warmest planet. Each day on Neptune lasts for 16 hours, 6 minutes, and 36 seconds, approximately. Applesauce was the first food eaten in space by astronauts. Neptune has the fastest winds in our solar system, reaching 1,600 miles per hour. Did you know that all international astronauts are required to know how to speak Russian? It is impossible to burp in space. Earth is the only planet not named after a god. NASA stands for National Aeronautics and Space Administration. The footprints made on the moon are expected to be there for 100 million years. Saturn is so big that Earth could fit into it 755 times. A sunset on Mars is blue. A NASA spacesuit costs $12 million. The International Space Station moves at about 17,150 miles per hour and completes a circle of the Earth every 92 minutes. A total solar eclipse can be seen from the same place only once in 370 years. A red supergiant is a massive star that can be 1,500 times bigger than the Sun. Did you know that Mercury has no atmosphere? That means there's no wind or weather on the planet. The word astronaut means star sailor. Astronauts' pee goes through a cleaning process and is turned back into drinking water. On Venus, it snows metal and rains sulfuric acid. The average temperature on Mars is negative 81 degrees Fahrenheit. Another tip, dogs can snore. Let's talk about some food facts. A pumpkin has about 500 seeds. In the United States, 600 million pounds of Halloween candy are sold each year. Banana peels can be used to shine shoes and remove ink from your hands. Here's some facts about Coca-Cola. The inventor of Coca-Cola was a pharmacist, doctor, and a surgeon. It was first advertised as a way to get rid of headaches and fatigue. And Coca-Cola was the first drink ever consumed in space. Jell-O is Utah's state snack. Eating an apple in the morning wakes you up better than drinking coffee does. Bananas grow pointing upwards. Buttermilk doesn't contain any actual butter. The most common allergy in the world is cow's milk. The flavor ice cream most often bought in the United States? Vanilla. Ginger has been used for medicinal purposes for longer than it has been for food. Before refrigerators, people in Russia and Finland put live brown frogs in milk to keep it from spoiling. In Mexico, turkey covered with chocolate sauce is a popular dish. Did you know that peanuts are used to make dynamite? Tomatoes are berries. Pumpkin is a fruit, not a vegetable, because it has seeds. Tomatoes were first grown in South America, not Italy. Brazil nuts only grow in rainforests. A banana is technically a berry, but a strawberry is not. Do you know that you can eat the rinds of a watermelon? They're often used as a vegetable in Asian stews. There are more than 350 types of pasta. Coca-Cola was originally green. And many oranges are actually green. The so-called American cheese, also called processed cheese, was actually invented in Switzerland. Did you know that all Fruit Loops are the same flavor? Coconuts kill about 150 people each year, and that's more than sharks. Broccoli and cauliflower are the only vegetables that are flowers. Up until the 18th century, the English thought tomatoes were poisonous. These tomatoes were originally called love apples. Blueberries will not ripen until they are picked. And honey is the only food that does not spoil. America consumes almost 50% of the world's chocolate. And 75% of the world's diet is produced from only 12 plants and 5 different animal species. A single strand of spaghetti is called a spaghetto. Even though most people think it's Italian, pepperoni is actually an American invention. Chocolate ice cream has been proven to reduce emotional and physical pain. And 1 single teaspoon of honey represents the life's work of 12 bees. Coffee is the world's most recognizable smell. And did you know that the little piece of paper sticking out of a Hershey's Kiss is called a Niggly Wiggly? You can grow your own pineapple by slicing off the top and planting it in the soil. Ketchup was once sold as medicine. The first candy canes had no stripes. Cotton candy was invented by a dentist, and it was originally called fairy floss. The only places in the world where you can't buy a Coke is North Korea and Cuba. Baked beans aren't baked, they're stewed. The longest noodle ever made is more than 10,000 feet long. And the world's largest wedding cake weighed 15,032 pounds. The banana plant can grow up to 20 feet high, which is the height of about a 2-story house. The world's largest burrito weighed 4,217 pounds. Canada eats more macaroni and cheese than any other nation in the world. The ancient Romans used to eat lettuce as a dessert. A watermelon is 92% water. That's the highest water content of any fruit. Cheese was invented around 8000 BC. A rotten egg has a green yolk. It takes 40 liters of sap from a maple tree to make 1 liter of maple syrup. Sliced bread was invented in Missouri in 1928. And fortune cookies were invented in California. In the Middle Ages, children drank beer for breakfast. Ripe cranberries will bounce. French fries originated in Belgium, not France. The world's smallest fruit is the Asian watermeal. It weighs less than 2 grains of table salt. The blue Jelly Belly jelly bean was created for President Ronald Reagan's inauguration ceremonies so that there could be red, white, and blue jelly beans. Americans buy 48 million pounds of chocolate every year for Valentine's Day. Kool-Aid was invented in Nebraska and originally called Fruit Smack. Hawaiian pizza was invented by a Canadian. A kernel of popcorn is 356 degrees Fahrenheit when it pops. Butter and yogurt made from camel's milk are light green. And the first bubble gums were pink because it was the only food coloring available at that time. Did you know the stickers on fruits at the grocery stores are edible? The glue used for them is regulated by the FDA. It's still recommended that you wash prior to eating. Vanilla flavoring is sometimes made from beaver urine. And lettuce is a member of the sunflower family. Here's some interesting, wacky facts about words. The most often used letter in the English alphabet is the letter E. For 5 years, Webster's dictionary had a word in it that didn't exist. The word was dord, D-O-R-D. So it was a typo, and it was left in there unnoticed for 5 years. There are no words that rhyme with orange, purple, or month. And the only word that begins and ends with und, U-N-D, is underground. A group of frogs is called an army. A pack of kittens is called a kindle. And a pack of adult cats is called a clowder. A group of rhinos is called a crash. A flock of crows is called a murder. A group of ferrets is called a business. And a group of lemurs is called a conspiracy. The cardboard holder that comes around takeaway cups of coffee is called a zarf. A blob of toothpaste is called a nurdle. Race car is the same, spelled backwards and forward. The only letter in the alphabet that doesn't appear in any U.S. state or territory name is the letter Q. Eye of Newt Toe of frog and wool of bat are just old terms for mustard seed, buttercup, and holly leaves. The only English words that has 3 sets of double letters together is bookkeeper. The word for taxi is identical in 13 languages. You know the plastic piece covering the end of a shoelace? That's called an aglet. A group of owls is called a parliament. A baby spider is called a spiderling. The word y'all didn't originate in the South. It was first written by an English writer in 1631. A group of rats is called a mischief. The ball on top of a flagpole is called a truck. A baby mouse is called a pinky. And the only 15-letter word that can be spelled without repeating a letter is uncopyrightable. How are you enjoying these facts so far? Hopefully they'll help you on the next trivia night. Here's some mind-blowing facts about the human body. Humans are the only animals with chins. Scientists cannot explain why we have them. Your taste buds are influenced by smell. So if you hold your nose and eat an apple, an onion, and a potato, they will all taste the same. When we are scared, our ears produce more earwax. About 1 in every 2,000 babies already has a tooth when they're first born. If you hold in a sneeze or plug your nose while you're sneezing, you can damage your hearing. The lungs are the only human organ that can float on water. And you are slightly taller when you wake up in the morning than when you go to bed at night. Every 10 years, the human skeleton repairs and renews itself. So essentially, you have different bones now than you did 10 years ago. Your tongue has about 3,000 taste buds. You can die faster from a lack of sleep than from a lack of food. The nail on your thumb grows the slowest, while the nail on your middle finger grows the fastest. You cannot sneeze with your eyes open. Babies under 1 month old do not cry tears. A protruding belly button, also called an outie, is had by about 10% of the population. Your eye muscles make around 100,000 movements every day. The brain cannot sense touch or pain, so brain surgery can be done while the patient is awake. It's impossible to tickle yourself and lick your own elbow. 8% of the population has an extra rib. 11% of people are left-handed. Your thigh bone is stronger than concrete. It takes just 4 minutes for your kidneys to clean all the blood in your body. And healthy kidneys filter 50 gallons of blood every day. Humans are the only animals that cry tears when we are upset. You blink about 25 times a minute. Newborn babies blink only once or twice a minute. Human babies are also born without kneecaps. Brain cells are the only cells in the body that do not regenerate. A hair follicle on your head will rest for up to 6 months after a hair falls out before a new hair sprouts out of it. The older you are, the faster your nails will grow. Your large intestine has more than 700 kinds of bacteria. And you have more than 230 joints in your body. On average, right-handed people live about 9 years longer than left-handed people. And it takes 72 muscles to talk. The lining of your stomach completely replaces itself every 3 days. And a red blood cell takes less than a minute to go around your whole body. Did you know your hair grows faster in warm weather than in cold weather? The human mouth produces 2 to 3 pints of saliva every day. It takes 17 muscles to smile and 43 muscles to frown. The body's largest organ is the skin. You're going to want to try this to prove me wrong, but you cannot hum while plugging your nose. Human blood is as salty as the ocean. On average, a person farts 14 times a day, and each fart travels about 7 miles an hour. You can't smell anything or sneeze while you're asleep. Humans are the only animal that blushes. And when you blush, the lining of your stomach also turns red. They're not sure why it does that. When you lie, your nose gets warmer. The longest attack of hiccups lasted for 68 years straight. That would be miserable. The average person will shed about 112 pounds of skin in their lifetime. In emergencies, coconut water can be used as blood plasma. Your liver grows during the day, but shrinks at night. The length of your foot is about the same distance as from your elbow to your wrist. And your feet can produce more than a cup of sweat every day. Inside your belly button, if you've got an innie, most people have about 67 different kinds of bacteria living in their belly buttons. The tongue is the only muscle in the body that's attached only at one end. And you produce about 1.5 quarts of snot every day, and most of it is swallowed. Women and children breathe faster than men. You crack your knuckles? The noise you hear when you crack your knuckles is coming from gas bubbles that are popping in the liquid surrounding your joints. The cornea, which is the surface of your eye, is the only part of the body that has no blood supply. Some fungal skin infections can glow in the dark. Some tumors can grow inside the body that are called teratomas. They're also called monster tumors, and they can have hair and teeth inside of them. When you sneeze, all of your bodily functions stop just momentarily, even your heartbeat. If you're left-handed, your right armpit will sweat more. If you are right-handed, your left armpit will sweat more. And did you know that you have taste receptors in your lungs? Very interesting body we have. There once was a blind Scottish man named William Macpherson, and he could read with his tongue. Leonardo da Vinci could write with one hand while drawing with the other. Pope Francis used to be a nightclub bouncer. Louis XIV, King Louis XIV of France, took only 3 baths in his entire lifetime, and none of them were by his choice. George Washington Carver is a name of someone that you should know. He's an African-American scientist, and he invented over 100 products made from peanuts. Do you know the pop star Madonna? She once worked at Dunkin' Donuts, but she was fired for squirting customers with the jam. King Mogul of Siam holds the records for the most weddings, marrying 9,000 wives in 9,000 separate weddings. Abraham Lincoln lost 5 different elections before becoming president. Shakespeare invented the words assassination and bump. Thomas Edison invented an electric pen in 1876 that was later adapted to become the first tattoo machine in 1891. Shaquille O'Neal, also known as Shaq, only made 1 three-pointer in his entire professional career. Did you know that Abraham Lincoln was a licensed bartender? And George Everest never saw the mountain that was named after him. Marie Curie is the only person to win the Nobel Prize in 2 different sciences, both physics and chemistry. Did you know that Alexander the Great was buried alive? And Cleopatra wasn't Egyptian, she was Greek. It took 12 years for Leonardo da Vinci to paint the lips of Mona Lisa. 12 years. Metallica is the only band to perform on all 7 continents. Dolly Parton once lost a Dolly Parton lookalike contest. Same with Charlie Chaplin. He entered a Charlie Chaplin lookalike contest and didn't win. Attila the Hun is said to have died of a nosebleed on his wedding night. President George H.W. Bush celebrated his 90th birthday by skydiving. Abraham Lincoln is in the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. And Benjamin Franklin once wrote a poem for a dead squirrel. Thomas Jefferson was known to wear a bathrobe when meeting with foreign diplomats. And Dr. Seuss wrote the book Green Eggs and Ham after his editor bet him that he couldn't write a book using just 50 words. You're going to have to pull that book up open and count the words. I know I did. William Shakespeare had a curse engraved on his tombstone to prevent anyone from moving his bones. Here's some interesting facts from all around the world. There are more bicycles in the Netherlands than there are people. The Filipino flag is flown red stripe up during the war and blue stripe up during times of peace. The world's oldest university is in Fez, Morocco. Fatima al-Fahiri was founded by the North African women in the year 859 AD. Australia's history is that they were an island where prisoners and criminals were sent. So it was so remote. So their very first police force was made of the 12 best behaving criminals. Sweden has more islands than any other country. There are at least 267,570 islands. Only 45% of the London Underground is actually underground. And depending on the temperature, the height of the Eiffel Tower can vary by up to 6 inches. The Leaning Tower of Pisa tilts because it is built on soft soil, but this soft soil has also protected it from being destroyed in at least 4 different earthquakes. The first Olympics were held in Athens, Greece in 1896, and there were 9 nations that competed. Lake Ulm in Austria has a floating island that moves constantly from shore to shore. Australia's Great Barrier Reef is so big that it can be seen from space. Sark Prison is a prison on an island between England and France. It's the world's smallest prison. It only has room to hold 2 prisoners. There are only 2 countries in the world that have the color purple in their flags, Nicaragua and Dominica. The country of Lesotho is completely surrounded by the country South Africa. In China, some police departments use geese as guard dogs. Papua New Guinea has more than 800 spoken languages. Antarctica has 105 days out of the year when it is dark for 24 hours a day. In China, the extremely wealthy can avoid prison time by hiring body doubles to serve their time for them. India grows over 80 different varieties of rice. Saudi Arabia has no river in the entire country. In the Eiffel Tower, there are 2.5 million rivets and 1,710 steps. Fireworks were invented more than 2,000 years ago in China to ward off evil spirits. In Colombia, the Vinegar River contains so much hydrochloric acid and sulfuric acid that no fish can live in it. Zimbabwe has 16 official languages. Did you know that there's no place in England that is more than 75 miles from the sea? In Australia, there are nearly twice the amount of kangaroos as there are humans. China is home to half of the pig population on Earth. It took over 22 centuries to complete the Great Wall of China. Most of the camels in Saudi Arabia, they're imported from Australia. The unicorn is the national animal of Scotland. In Wales, you can compete in an underwater mountain bike race. The entire country of Liechtenstein only has 1 jail. Panama is the only place in the world where you can see the sun rise on the Pacific Ocean and set on the Atlantic Ocean. People in North Korea are legally only allowed to have 1 of 28 haircuts. There are 14 styles that women can choose from and 14 styles that men can choose from. There once was an undersea post office in the Bahamas. The world's oldest bookstore is in Lisbon, Portugal, and it's been open since 1732. The 50 tallest mountains in the world are all in Asia. St. Lucia is the only country in the world named after a woman, St. Lucy. In ancient Egypt, where cats were very popular, when a cat died, the owner would shave off one eyebrow to mourn the loss of their animal. Australia has over 10,000 beaches. You could visit a new beach every day, and it would take more than 27 years to visit them all. Sweden has the largest ice hotel in the world, and it's rebuilt every December. Ready for some unique United States facts? Alaska is the only state to have coastlines on 3 different bodies of water: the Bering Sea, the Arctic Ocean, and the Pacific Ocean. There is a waterfall near Honolulu, Hawaii that falls upwards. Lancaster, Pennsylvania was the U.S. capital for one day on September 27, 1777. Juneau, Alaska is the only capital city in the U.S. with no roads leading to it. It can only be accessed by boat, plane, or ferry. There's a town in Nebraska called Monowi. Not sure how to pronounce that. But there's a population of 1, and that woman is the mayor, the bartender, and the librarian. The Empire State Building in New York City is struck by lightning about 23 times every year. Devil's Tower in the Black Hills of Wyoming is so big that it can be seen from space. In 1986, the town of Lajitas, Texas, voted to elect Clay Henry III, a beer-drinking goat, as its mayor. During World War II, a U.S. naval destroyer won a battle against a Japanese submarine by throwing potatoes at them. The Japanese thought they were grenades. President Ulysses S. Grant was arrested while in office. He was charged, booked, and released for speeding on a horse. There are only 2 sets of escalators in the entire state of Wyoming. Maine is the only state that borders one other state. The Hawaiian alphabet only has 12 letters. The city of Rabbit Hash, Kentucky always elects a dog as its mayor. Yellowstone was the first national park. It was established in 1872. Thomas Edison, the famous inventor, proposed to his wife in Morse code. Let's see some other interesting facts I will share. The U.S. is the only country where alligators and crocodiles can be found in the same location. Including its territories, the United States spans 11 time zones. A library in Iowa has over 4,000 tiny books, many of which can only be read by using a magnifying glass. The smallest state in the U.S. is Rhode Island, and you can drive all the way across it in an hour. If Alaska were cut in half, each side would still be bigger than Texas. Most of Mount Rushmore was carved with dynamite. Before Phoenix, Arizona was an official city, it was called Pumpkinville. North Dakota grows enough soybeans to make 483 billion crayons every year. Iowa and Missouri almost went to war in 1839 over a land dispute. It is possible to sail from the Pacific Ocean to Idaho. I think I'm going to wrap it up for today. I hope these were some interesting facts, that you learned a few things, and that you will be held in amazement by your friends and family for all of the interesting tidbits that you know about the world and the people around us. Tune in again for more of the funnest of facts.